aligned ourselves with Q&A events, which is Suzanne Ball, which is right here. She's the expert that always helps us with our annual meeting and other big events that we do. So we knew we wanted to have the pros involved in this with us so that we did it right when we do it for the very first time. And we also know that it is the very first time. So you know what? We're not going to have 1 million people out here, but you know something? It's going to build momentum, and it's going to have a lot of media behind it, a lot of promotion, and we hope that you all are as excited about it as we are. Do you have anything to add, AT?
Not a whole lot, but a couple things that are kind of interesting as well. We're going to layer in a bar and restaurant promotion on top of that, so we're still kind of putting together the final pieces. We need the full approval to move ahead with the event, but you know, we're going to try to get people after the races at night and over the weekend to go visit our bars and restaurants. And then also leading up to the event, actually this Saturday is the first one, we're going to be doing a training ride for actually 3 training rides, 1 per month. So we're going to do 1 in June, 1 in July, and 1 in August. So it's really going to be a 4-month promotion for this first year, so we're really excited about that. So that's all I wanted to add.
Well, and one more thing, of course, we would be remiss if we didn't promote hotels. So you know that we're going to have a page on our website that does direct hotels. We are communicating with the hotels so that they can offer packages to any of the riders or participants that want to come down and spend the night, and we're going to promote that as well. And that's it. Any questions?
Council?
It's not spend the district related, it is DMO, so take advantage of being here. The landing pages that are sponsored on Facebook, love them, they're beautifully designed, and they're popping up in my newsfeed a lot. So I'm not sure if that's extra sponsored just for council members, just to make sure it comes in there. But I was wondering if y'all could randomize which, I know it's a partnership between cities, but if you could randomize which city comes up first, because it's always College Park. I think it's alphabetical order right now, so Union City gets the short end of the stick. I know they're paying at least 2, but.
So related to spin the district?
No.
Just
in
general, in life.
Landing pages.
We can, yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they
So
can.
you're talking about on our website?
No,
No,
he's talking about
the social media feeds.
Facebook.
Okay.
But on the mobile site that pulls up, I can,
Social.
We can
That
probably
pulls up the
solve.
social media feeds?
I'll show it to you all.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we're happy to talk
Let us
about
know, yes.
Yep.
Probably easier for me to take screenshots and just text it to you.
Please do.
Okay.
Yeah, we're happy to look at it.
Questions?
Other questions, anyone?
This is great.
I'm excited. You brought stickers too.
Yes, we did. We wanted to wait, make sure y'all were okay with it first.
See, don't say really why not.
Co-hosting a local motion, I think, is a great idea. How many unique visitors do you think will come just for this, and how many unique cyclists?
That's a really good question. We are,
Should be about 250.
we're thinking about 250 riders. That's what we're hoping for our first year. For attendees and spectators, we don't really know. We're hoping at least double, at least that amount. But probably, and ideally, it'll be bigger. And it'll be something that we have to build on. These events take time to build reputation and whatnot. So we really don't know is the honest answer. But several hundred.
Can I start something?
Yeah.
I know y'all mentioned that you're going to promote local motion to the riders who are coming to town. Are you going to promote it just in general?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually worked with the folks last year. We'll be doing it again. We did lots of media placement and that sort of thing. We'll be doing all of that again. We also have the benefit of one of our agency people is also one of the people working on this event. So we're going to be developing some cross promotions. Probably joint ads that kind of split so we can maximize our money. I don't know. We're working through all of that right now. But yes, local motion will have its own standalone promotion and advertising that we'll do. Spin the District will also, and then there'll be some cross.
Any other questions for them? Awesome.
Well,
Sounds
thank
very
you.
exciting, ladies. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
They didn't clap for the water meter, man. Y'all can stay and watch the rest of the show, or you can, as Elvis did, leave the building.
Well, I think you're involved in the show later.
That's right, okay.
We'll stay.
All right, next item up is public hearings. We have a few public hearings tonight. And just as a point of order on public hearings, what we will do is we will announce the purpose of the public hearing. We'll give the background information. We will take citizen comments either for or against the item. And I'll go on one side of the room at a time. Now, once we've gone to both sides of the room, because the public hearings follow a little bit more strict protocol, so once we've gone to both sides of the room, that'll end the public hearing, or the public comments portion of the public hearing. So I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that before we start. So with that being said, our first public hearing item is consideration and action on the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget ordinance. This will be the second reading of that ordinance. On May 21st, 2018, the city made available a draft fiscal 2018-2019 proposed budget. The city advertised the public hearing in the South Fulton Neighbor newspaper. A copy of the draft budget is posted to the City Hall website, along with a copy of the detailed line items supporting the budget proposal. The city manager and staff has made itself available to discuss the budget in overall concept and in detail. The budget calls for approximately $12.4 million in general fund revenues and a net add to the fund balance of approximately $150,000. Of significant notes for the 2018-19 fiscal year, the Georgia legislature approved a change to the city hotel and motel tax classification. With the change, the city expects to complete the restoration of the theater in fiscal year 2019. The city expects the completion of the Holiday Inn Express in the current year, and we expect groundbreaking on the Embassy Suites Hotel in the upcoming year as well. The Dogwood Streetscape project is expected to be completed shortly, and long-awaited projects along the railroad are beginning. And I will highlight long-awaited. The budget is an estimate of our projection for the next 12 months. Should assumptions or actual circumstances significantly change, mayor, council, and staff will revisit our plans to be the best steward of the resources of our city. The first reading of the budget was at the June 5th, 2018 mayor and council session, and again, this will be the second reading. So with that being said, I will open the floor up to public comments, either for or against, or if you have general questions about the budget. If we're going to drill down into detail, let us know, and we'll take a note of your question and get back to you on the details. So I will start on my right-hand side of the room and my left. Ms. Dimick? Fancy you up here for the first time. You hadn't participated in
I know,
these
I
budget
told
hearings in the
the
last 4
Travis a
years.
little earlier, I said, I think hell must have frozen over because I'm going to a council meeting. It's reversed. It's on savings.
I got
Yeah.
a phone, sorry.
Hell, hasn't it?
I'm like wondering, who is texting me that?
That is me. Diane Dimick, 3360 Old Jonesboro Road. I'm going to start, and mine will be comments, and, because it says comments. Turn me down?
Just your volume, just your volume. Just let's start the feedback.
Okay. The first would be under the, what you just read, Mayor, under the background, and it's the comments. The Dogwood Streetscape project is expected to be completed shortly, and the long-awaited projects on the railroad are beginning. Thorn in the side on the Dogwood, I went by today, there were 2 people working. One was doing a shovel and one was pushing a wheelbarrow. I don't know if it was our practice to have somebody from community services out there every day to see how many people showed up. I believe we are in the penalty phase now, which I think was $400 and something a day. I think we're at 2.5 months, that's about $30,000. And I want to be sure that we will be subtracting that off, and I still can't believe they're not in a bigger hurry. All right, and then on the, which brings up the railroad, we've been waiting a long time on that. I hope the same thing. Somebody from our community services will be out there every day, starting when they put up those landscaping fences, to see that somebody is working. And not saying it's a rainy day or a hot day or whatever. Just those two things on that. And then to the public comment on the budget, I have a comment on the letter from Tim. It said with a few, this is in the middle of the paragraph, it says, with few personnel changes but a sizable increase to health care expense, accounting for a significant portion of the projected revenue gains. Now, either I'm reading that wrong or whatever, but I don't know how increased healthcare expense would account for a significant portion of projected revenue gains.
I think what he's saying is that's the potential increase in our healthcare costs could offset the revenue gains that we're anticipating.
Okay, all right, wasn't sure on that. Then on to the actual, some of the detail, I had a question about, well, comment. This is on the general fund, and this is miscellaneous revenue, cell phone towers. It's my page 3. I don't know if that's what y'all have, but as I look at trends, I see 14, we were at 25,000, 15, 29,000. Last year, actual was 8,000. This year, our budget is for 89,000 year to date. That's 3/4 of the year gone. We're at 14,000. And we are projecting a budget recommendation of 25,000. So I see that's a big difference in what was budgeted and what has been collected for 3/4 of the year. I don't know if that all comes in at the end of the year or not. So, and then also under the same category, insurance reimbursements. This is probably some to do with the Academy Theater. Okay. And then we have the city manager. I know there were some questions earlier. As I see, this appeared in legislative. I don't believe our city manager has ever been accounted for under legislation. He previously, or the person was previously accounted for under finance and administration. So I was just curious about that. And also under that city manager line item, there's one for insurance liability, $248,000. I imagine that's just the city's liability. Okay. Then for the city clerk, again looking at a trend, 14 we were 57,000, 15 65,000, 17 70,000. This year we budgeted 63,000. We are currently at 44,000. New budget 102,000. So I thought there was only one city clerk, but maybe we're splitting some other personnel.
We did.
Okay, and then I think this is my last one. Under financial administration, again, we have 3/4 of the year done. Under regular employees, that's the first line item on page 9. We have gone in 2014, 225,000, 215, 213,000, 2016, 260,000. This year's budget was for 333,000, and we are at 188,000, 3/4 of the year done. The requested budget is 279,000. Again, I look at trends. Professional services, again, the trend went down. The current year budget was 80,000. We are currently at 110,000. And we are requesting 140,000. Oh, one more. This is the last one, really. Under law, again, that's always a big issue here in the city, or has been for a few years. Our trend has been up dramatically. This year's budget is 230,000, and we are requesting 350,000. And so that's about 100,000 less. So I guess that means we're going to be more efficient. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Diane. Any other comments regarding the budget on my left?
Yeah, I'm Larry Martin, 701 Campbell Circle. Yeah, I had several questions and some comments. I won't try not to get everybody bogged down in numbers and figures, but just generally the overall trend is what I'm referring to. My first question is, has any calculation been done yet to determine the overall assessed property values for 2018 through 19? The total assessed value which we're going to use against the millage rate. Has anybody figured out the total assessed value?
We get that.
For all
We
properties.
get that from the county, and we got our preliminary digest last week, I believe.
Right.
So we don't get a final digest. Unfortunately, the way the county's timeline is, we have to do a budget before we have a digest. And so we have to make assumptions.
According to this budget, I noticed that the real property revenue was about 3.55 million, which is about 50,000 more than last year. I know that there's several new properties. I don't know how many there are, new properties that are in the city, but since the requested value of the real property is based on a millage rate times total assessed value, the requested real property revenues for 18 through 19 is about 50,000 more than it was last year. So my question is, considering that the new properties are accounting for some to be able to tax since last year to take care of some or most part of the $50,000 difference, is it going to be correct to assume that the millage rate will be substantially lower for the homeowners? I don't see any other way that it has to come way down, because if you're taking in approximately the same amount in real property revenue, 50,000 more, and you've got new properties to account for some of that 50,000 difference, if we're going to bring in the same dollar amount, then the millage rate has got to drop way down. I'm very concerned because my house is up 120%. I looked at 40 other residential properties online the last few days, and I got an overall percentage increase on streets of Dogwood Drive, Moreland Way, Birch, Myrtle Street, Campbell Circle, Oakdale Road, and Cofield, scattered throughout the city. I looked at the difference in the assessed values of last term versus this term over the 40, and I'm finding about 112%. That's what that's what the average was 112% increase in the assessed values. So my question is, if we are asking for roughly $50,000 more in real property revenue, which is the first item on the budget, is that amount of money going to come from a greatly reduced millage rate? It should.
I believe it's based upon the current millage rate that we have now.
How could you do that? Because the current millage rate multiplied times all of these new assessed values, which is 112% more than what they were last year, that's going to be almost double.
Do you mind if I interject?
Yes, please.
Remember, we had to do this budget in May. We had no information from the county. And also a reminder, last year, the property values, the assessments went up, and Fulton County essentially turned them down. So at this point in time, we worked off the best information that we had, and it is still upon a secondary meeting between mayor and council to determine what the millage rate is, what it will be. But at this point in time, we had to go with the best information that we had and our best estimate.
I understand that, but my point is that since what I'm seeing online now, the increase in the real property values over 40 properties is more than 112%.
Okay.
So if you take all of those, and you cannot use the old millage rate, otherwise, many, many residents and homeowners are going to be greatly impacted by extremely high property taxes. That's extremely important that y'all, right now, you have an opportunity to do something about it.
Again, I believe what Tim was stating is that this is using 2017's numbers with an increase of 50,000, so.
I know that.
Okay.
I was using those numbers, but if you are anticipating to receive, according to operator budget, roughly 50,000 more than you received last year from real property revenue, and the assessments are more than twice as much, then the millage rate to get that 3.55 million has got to come way down.
3.95?
3.95 million.
3.95 million, correct.
That's what we're budgeting for this year.
I left my
It's $450,000 more
the
than
very
last year.
first item of real
Right, that's
property
right.
revenue.
$3.95 million. It's about
$700,000 more than we're going to realize.
This is the long spreadsheet. Okay,
On the first page.
can we move on?
Yeah.
We'll have to allow for other comments, Larry.
Yes. And I also looked at 7 different commercial properties on Central Avenue and Dogwood and found that there was not hardly any overall increase in their assessed values. So,
I have an answer for that too. Just as a reminder, last year in the digest, the residential properties were frozen in 2016, but the commercial properties were as they were assessed.
So they got their medicine last year. The commercial.
Residential rolled back last year.
Where's commercial?
okay. Well, as far as being able to offer the citizens who decide to come and live here some relief so that they're not experiencing continuing higher taxes because assessments have gone up. These areas of funds appropriation that there's areas of funds appropriation that I consider either not necessary or a waste if they're not producing a net return. Now, like in any business, you've got to look at something if it's going to produce money. Is it going to make the whole city more efficient, which lets the homeowners enjoy a lower dollar amount in their taxes? That's what it should be about. All of this activity to produce income by the hotel, motel tax and everything else, it should be producing enough income so that the homeowner's tax bill goes down. The dollar amount of the homeowners goes down because everything else should pick up the difference and give even more. And so that's why I'm saying that the areas of funds appropriation that I consider either not necessary or a waste, that are not producing a net return. The main objective of Economic Development Department is to ultimately have various revenues total up so that the fiscal efficiency and the tax burden on the residents who desire to live here is lessened, so we have more dollars in our pocket after tax because the other sources of revenue make that possible.
That's what we hope to see happen.
But I don't see it happening.
Well, we've got to turn the corner. We've been suffering
We've been
from,
saying this since 2006.
well, Larry, we've been suffering from declining property tax values for a number of years. Now, I would ask you, would you sell your home for the appraised value?
Let me finish because I've got the floor right now, please. And I'll be glad to sit down. The current requested budget for economic development is $377,000. Main Street Board is $20,000. Okay, so that's almost $400,000. This could be a big chunk that would be taken off of what they're requesting for the real property revenue. Real property revenue requests could go down that much if these two things were not continued to be spent money on. I would like to see, and I definitely would like to see, a feasibility study done to see if we're getting a net positive return for all of this money that we spent since 2006. Every year, since 2006 it started, we spent tremendous amounts of money to consultants that seem to have all the answers. But all of the money that we spent, we need to find out and look at it financially frugally. Is it producing a net positive return? If it's not, then don't do it. The stormwater runoff fee, we wouldn't be having to pay that if just a small fraction of this wasted funds weren't wasted. That's spending money on these financial consultants who seem to have all the answers. And they say that you do this and do that, and you're going to have money coming in. Once that money is spent, it's too hard to get it back. It's not happening. The firms, they always have a good sounding pitch, but unfortunately they're mainly the ones that are benefited. As we continue to spend money, to chase money, it's all about how to make up your money and resources. Go further. Because once the money is spent, you're not going to get it back the way we're told. And the citizens who live and desire here to make Haverhill their home, they continue to keep having to pay more as the things that are supposed to pay off don't. I'll say this in closing, the real estate market will find and take care of itself in establishing value. And with Haverhill's location, that will definitely happen without having to spend money so much to attract people. You give the real estate market its own chance because it's very efficient in finding where the values are. We don't need to be spending some tremendous amounts of money to convince people to come and live here. It'll happen itself.
Any other comments for or against on the left? Yes, ma'am, Susan.
Susan Stone, 431 Walnut Street. I want to thank the previous speaker. On Nextdoor, I have been talking about the increased taxes and the millage rate and studying it. And I'm a little disappointed that the mayor is speaking for all of the council here in respect to this man and what he had to say. I think that it's very, very tempting to see this as the goose that laid the golden egg in these increased assessments and leaving the millage rate the same. I know that the town has been operating at a deficit, that there have been a lot of problems with that, but I think we need to look and be very transparent about this, about what's going on with the people. I don't see anyone talking, any of you on Nextdoor about it, although there's been much discussion. And so I too want to encourage you to look at the mill rate because, as I have been told, council has the ability to lower the mill rate. The other thing is this. The city of Haverhill does not give a very large basic exemption, homestead exemption. Is it 10,000?
It is.
I believe it is, yes.
10,000, okay. I think if you look around at other towns, what they're giving as a basic homestead exemption, it is higher. College Park, East Point. The homestead exemption should be increased for these reasons. it affects it will help people who own their homes as compared to those that have investment properties. The other thing I would like to see happen is looking at exemptions. People of older age, say 65 and above, and those with low incomes can get exemptions from the county. But the town of Hapeville does not offer any. So here you have an elderly person who is poor, and their property has gone up 100 and something %. There's no drop in the millage rate, there's no decent homestead exemption, there's no exemption. And what are they do? And again, please do not take advantage of this opportunity to increase your money income. We have to look also at doing it slowly and affordably for your people. You know, you can't do it 100%. You've got to do it maybe 25 a year, you know, so everyone can stay, so people can figure out how they're going to pay that and not lose their homes. I know I speak for everyone here. Thank you very much.
Susan, if I may, I'll be very quick. The mayor doesn't speak for me, I speak for myself.
Okay, but I didn't hear you speak.
Because I wasn't giving out, I was listening to all the comments before I spoke. Number two, I think that as with anything, that even though appraised value of the home have gone up, that we need to look at this from a very prudent perspective and look at lowering the millage rate incrementally. I don't think that it needs to be a drastic change, because we have to take into account that there's potentials for to appeal process and those types of things there. So if we just automatically lower the millage rate, we're still behind the 8 ball. Our reserves here in Hapeville have been basically depleted for years. So I think that the most fiscal, prudent thing to do is to lower it incrementally instead of time, whereby we can drop it more affordable for the citizens here in Hapeville.
I agree, incrementally starting this year.
And this morning I met with State Representative David Trayer. Apparently he's also hearing this not only from Hapeville residents, but also from City of Atlanta, which makes up a large part of his district. And I'm leaning on him for some advice as well as it relates to city-based exemptions. So please don't think that the comment about city exemptions is falling on deaf ears. I was talking about it this morning without even hearing your comment, but reading your comments on Nextdoor. So just because somebody might be silent and not commenting doesn't mean they're working in the background. So.
And I'll speak to the Nextdoor issue. I choose for my health to stay off of Nextdoor. Some of the things that people have said about me, about my family, they've attacked my integrity, and I